right now, there's no D.
And that was the joke from ESPN's Ella Duncan, arguably one of the most outspoken critics of Caitlin Clark, and that has the internet drawing battle lines. But it's the fury response from a former WNBA announcer that's pouring gasoline on the fire and exposing a much bigger problem at ESPN. And this isn't just about a bad joke anymore, it's about a complete lack of professionalism, blatant double standards in the very direction of women's sports coverage. Some are defending Duncan's joke as harmless fun, while others are calling it a slap in the face to the players in the league. And the debate has elevated to a whole new level, and it's revealing the ugly truth about ESPN's agenda you absolutely need to hear. So we'll break it down, and also I'll read the article and we'll get into that in a minute. All right, so let's set the scene. It's the 2025 WNBA All-Star Game, and the league is riding an incredible wave of popularity. Stars like Caitlin Clark have brought more eyes to the sports than ever, and this game is supposed to be a celebration of all that success. A huge number of those new fans are families, especially those with young girls inspired by Clark, tuning in for what they expect to be a family friendly broadcast. At halftime, Team Collier is absolutely dominant Team Clark 82 to 60. And look, in any All Star game, NBA or WNBA, defense is, let's call it optional. And the players are there to put on a show, score a ton of points, and have a good time. And that's when ESPN host Ella Duncan decided to drop her own brand of color commentary. And she took one look at the scoreboard and saw the total lack of defensive intensity and delivered the line that would ignite a firestorm. We hope it all gets a little better, more competitive, because it's like a girl's trip to Cancun. Right now, there's no D. You guys heard the clip that I presented to you before I start speaking, and you can feel the awkwardness on air immediately. Her co-host, Chene Okomaiki, quickly tried to play it off, laughing and saying, "Ella, you in timeout, you done," before the broadcast wisely cut to a commercial, but it was too late. The comment was already out there, and the internet did what it does best. It exploded. And the joke is a crude double entree, hitting at the lack of defense while also playing on a vulgar stereotype. And for a lot of people, this wasn't just a simple joke. It was a line between it was a line dropped on a massive platform during a marquee event for a league that has fought tooth and nail for respect. And the league and the women want respect, but they also want to get paid higher salaries. That's why they put pay us what you owe us shirts on during the warm-ups of the whole WNBA All-Star game. And context is everything here, because networks have a line of responsibility when broadcasting to a national audience. From a business perspective, apparently ESPN doesn't hold its broadcast to the same standard. And this comment fundamentally disrespected the athletes and the family audience the league is finally starting to attract. And the second that clip hit social media, the battle lines were drawn. The reaction was fast and deeply divided. On one side, you had people who thought the joke was hilarious. They argued it was witty, and it was a way to comment on a blowout game. And they pointed out that Duncan's been making jokes like this for her career at ESPN. So why is everyone freaking out? And to them, the outrage was just people being overly sensitive. But on the other side, the criticism was fierce, because one user on X summed it up perfectly. Add this to a long list of why no one takes WNBA or ESPN seriously. And this comment gets to the heart of the frustration, the feeling that women's sports still aren't being treated as seriously as men's sports, or as men's. And critics will argue that with the WNBA's explosive growth, a comment like Duncan undermines its progress. And the debate also spiraled into a heated discussion about double standards and ESPN's selective enforcement of rules. And people immediately pointed out that if a male announcer had made a similar joke about a lack of D, as we know we're talking about private parts here, the backlash would have been immediate, and he'll likely be suspended or fired. And this gets even more frustrating when you look at how ESPN has treated other commentators. Sage Steele sued the network. Allegedly, she was retaliated against for comments made off air. Sam Ponder was let go. It creates a clear perception that certain hosts like Duncan can say what they want without consequences, while others are pushed out for far less. So just when the debate seemed to be settling into two camps, a more profound critique began to take shape coming from people who know the sports broadcasting world inside and out. And a former WNBA announcer crushed the idea that this was about being offended, arguing that the problem wasn't that the joke was crude, it was that it was deeply unprofessional. And the core of her argument focused on the job of an announcer to elevate the game and the athletes, and instead, Duncan made the broadcast about herself. The WNBA has gained significant traction with families, and young girls now see players like Caitlin Clark as role models. And the league has worked hard to build a family friendly brand for that audience. A vulgar joke on national broadcast isn't just awkward, it's alienating. It's the sort of thing that explains why the league struggled for so long to grow. And it pushes away the very audience it now desperately needs. And this is the point that changes the game. It's not about prude being prude, I should say. It's about being appropriate for the context you paid to broadcast for. And when you look at it, I'm just hammering home the double standard. And can you imagine an announcer making the male equivalent of the joke during the Super Bowl? It just wouldn't happen. And there's a professional standard that announcers are expected to maintain. By framing it this way, they destroyed the idea that this was just edgy humor, right? A lot of individuals, I'm talking about they as in the sentiment of the people speaking about this, which in my opinion, agree is unprofessional. I agree that this is bad from a business perspective when it comes to marketing the league and actually gaining new eyeballs, but also the ears of the youth is just unnecessary. And hey, if you find this breakdown insightful and want more analysis of the biggest controversies in sports media, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out. Now let's get back into it. So this is the article. It says Elle Duncan uses I'm a girl card and defensive D joke during WNBA All-Star game. To explain herself, ESPN anchor Elle Duncan joined the Dan Labard show this week defending how she made a dick joke on air during the WNBA All-Star game. And she goes to say, my thing with the Cancun joke is I feel like whenever I say something, it's like sometimes a reintroduction for some people who clearly don't know me or my work for over the last 10 years. I'm like, bro, I said on air one time that if you celebrate too early, it's called premature. I'm jaculation. Like, I can't actually imagine this is worse than that, Duncan said. When she says, I feel like I've constantly had to remind people I've been saying things like this for 10 years. I have been at ESPN. Exactly. That's the point. She has been doing it for more than a decade and getting away with it. And I agree with that. Duncan tried claiming that people were only bothered by her joke because she is a woman. And this is what Duncan had to say in quotes. Yes, girls say crude jokes too. She told Labar, not quite. So Patricia Bamcock McGraw, that's the editor of the whole thing of Duncan's comments in this article. And she says, I think people will be bothered by this joke no matter who said it, man or woman, and not because people can't take a joke or are prudes. Bamcock McGraw said, first, this joke is not even funny, just kind of cringe. Second, the joke is weird to say that this in context. And you just don't hear sports announcers say things like this on broadcast TV during an event. Can you imagine the male sports? And I agree with this, right? Because these are the sentiment of the people. These are the comments of people saying it on X. And these are what um, you know, regular commentators or regular announcers on broadcast networks that have experiences and journalists are saying basically that she could try to defend that, oh, she been saying this for 10 years or so, but the simple fact is that doesn't make it not wrong, right? And when you facing this wave of criticism, Ella Duncan, she didn't back down, obviously, and she basically doubled down hard in her defense and revealed everything you need to know about the hypocrisy at ESPN. And her openly admitting a double standard, she obviously don't care. And this defense is a slap in the face to the very idea of equality, right? Instead of addressing the unprofessionalism, she used her gender as a shield. And the argument that wasn't that a woman told a crude joke. The argument was that an announcer had a marquee family viewed event told a crude joke. By making it about her gender, she wasn't just missing the point. She was explaining a double standard for her own benefit. And she essentially argued that she has a right to be unprofessional simply because she a woman. That's what I got from it. And this whole thing points to a larger, more uncomfortable truth. And there's a growing perception that ESPN treats the WNBA less like a premier sports league and more like a platform for personality driven content. If you want me to take it a step further, they say they want equal pay and equal jokes. I mean equal pay and they want equal pay and they want not jokes. They want equal pay and they want equality and they want to be treated as important and not as a joke. Well, the thing is, you're sitting here trying. This is what happened when a woman wants to defend herself for not taking accountability and basically using her gender of just being just a girl. So that tells me right there, you just ignorant and dumb to the simple fact that you feel as though just because you've been getting away with it that you could do it, and then you want to use that you're a woman and you want to use your gender and you as a woman to absolve your ignorance. And then you wonder why you don't get paid equal as men or you don't get treated the same as men because then you excuse yourself from the same accountability and treatment that men have to basically deal with and that actually have to embrace and the standard they have to meet in the NBA and the NFL and the NHL and even male broadcasters, you want to get paid as them. You have to accept the same standards as them, and that's just what it is. But if you don't want to do that and you want to use your you being a girl and your gender as an excuse and saying this is what you always been doing, obviously people what they say in their household, they don't bring it to their job and speak that same way at their job, right? It's just a time and a place and also different conversations for different type of situations because every conversation is situational. You're not going to talk you're not going to talk like you talk to your family to your coworkers. You're not going to talk like you talk to your family to your you're not going to talk in where you carry yourself at home if you like to lay around and relax at home. You're not going to do that at your job if you got to do your job. So what are we talking about? Right? But this is the same sentiment of what people are saying and I'm saying. You want to use your ignorance and your gender to say, "Oh," and play victim and run in victim limits and say, "I'm just a girl. It's just a joke. What's the big deal?" But it is a big deal because you in the field that has a standard and they have rules. But if you want to operate that way, just don't be mad when your pay ain't what you expect it to be and you're looking at other people's salaries pocket watching or you're looking at a male broadcaster pocket watching. And it's the same thing with the WNBA. Don't be a drama girl league and you expecting to get paid the same as men, but y'all can't even bring pure entertainment, let alone competitiveness, to make it be profitable on its own as a league and a franchise. So where does this leave us? On one hand, you got Ella Duncan, a popular host who believes she's been unfairly treated because now she run into the Victim Olympics being dumb and ignorant, admitting that she gets a pass because she's a woman. And on the other hand, you got critics arguing that the joke was unprofessional. Like myself, I believe it was very unprofessional and disrespected the league's audience and is not marketable. And it basically hurts the marketability for the ESPN when it comes to coverage and also the league as the WNBA as a whole. And it's a perfect example of ESPN's blatant double standards and also the leagues too. I'm gonna hold the WNBA accountable too. So this is way more than just a joke. It's a flashpoint in the battle for the soul of women's sports coverage. Is the goal to hide behind identity politics, to be edgy, even if it alienates the new family oriented fan base players like Caitlin Clark have brought to the league? Or is it the goal to elevate the sport and treat the athletes with the professionalism they feel that they earned since they talking about pay as what you owe us? The backlash isn't just about one off-color comment. It's about the cynical, or I should say, cynical way Duncan and ESPN use a double standard as defense. And the criticism wasn't a call to be offended. It was a call for professionalism, a standard that should apply to everyone, regardless of gender, and the standard the WNBA and its players have more than earned, right? And that's just my take on it when it comes to this whole thing. And Ella Duncan, let me see. I feel like Ella Duncan knows better and she should know better. And if she's going to be, she should hand lock and walk in hands with the WNBA, knowing what they're trying to do, and you being a detriment to yourself, you being a detriment to the ESPN, you being a detriment to the WNBA. And in my opinion, I wouldn't let her host or broadcast or cover any more games. She can't get her act together, that's fine. Just don't be covering this league or this franchise. And that's just my take on it. But what do you guys think? Was Elle Duncan's joke in her "I'm a woman" defense fair game, or did she cross a line to prove the critics' point? Let me know your verdict in the comments below. Catch you in the next one. Peace.